Hi there! Welcome to an episode of Board Game Biology. My name is Christos, and in that episode we're gonna find out about the biology of this amazing game called Evolution Climate. I'm so happy and thrilled about this game, guys. It combines three things I absolutely adore: board games, watercolors, and evolutionary biology. This is pure beauty. If Charles Darwin were alive, he would be so happy and proud of this game, guys. After all, it was designed by a biologist, and being a biologist myself, I kid you not that you're gonna love it. It's a wonderful idea, and it's actually quite precise. So if you like animal documentaries and watercolors like me, this is the game you've been looking for. I was so happy when I found out about this one, and I cannot wait to share this experience with you guys. Under the laws of evolution, there is only one thing that matters. It doesn't matter if your species are the strongest ones, nor the most intelligent ones. This one thing that really matters is adaptability. So will your species survive these ever-changing ecosystems, or will they go extinct? We will have to adapt our species in an ever-changing ecosystem, a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. Food can be rare, predators lurk, and the climate can swing between hot and icy cold. Overall, we will gather victory points from species, card traits, and any food collected during the game. For now, keep this. One surviving species gives us X points for its X population, its trait card of the species 1 point, and any one food collected also 1 point. The player with the most points wins. For the setup, connect the waterhole puzzle pieces to form the board. This is where the herbivore animals only will gather to eat plants. You will see that the carnivore animals will never gather here to be fed. Based on the number of players, turn the corresponding side up. Shuffle both the hot and cold weather cards separately and form a deck on each edge of the board like so. I love how these two decks of cards somehow camouflage and blend in the board, similar to the nature of watercolors. Now draw one cold and one hot climate card and place them on the corresponding field on the board. Give each player little pairs where they will gather their food points and one species board with level 1 body size and level 1 population. Shuffle all cards and form a deck next to the board, then deal to each player 4 cards plus 1 card for each species a player controls. Therefore, in the beginning, everyone starts with 5 cards. Keep these cards as well as any cards during the game secret from the rest players. In addition, give the first player the wooden dinosaur. This dinosaur will always remind you who is the first player in its turn. Keep these kind of turn cards visible so all players can have an overview of the phases of the game. This will be our cheat sheet to remind us when we're doing what and how. The available food in the box is the food bank. And now you're ready to start. I really like this game because it is clear and very self-explanatory. Everything you need to do in a turn is described clearly here. Its round consists of 5 phases. First, deal cards. Second, select food. Third, play cards. 4, modify environments. And 5, feeding. We will play over and over through these 5 phases. Every time you will have to follow the same exact order. So first, you deal always 4 cards plus 1 for each species. In this example, we have done this from our setup states. Then we select food. Each player gets 1 card of their choice from their hand and places it face down on the watering hole. Notice that each card has a name and a description. Also, those cards have a sun or a snowflake and a number on the bottom right corner. These are the details that play a role here on this exact phase. If you place, for example, a card with a number 5, this means that you will try to add 5 plants on the watering hole, or 0, or you will try to decrease it by -2, for example. The snowflake or sun symbol influences how the climate will change. If the majority will be sun symbols, the climate marker will shift one place towards the warmer climate, and the other way around if there were more snowflakes. We will see this in a while. For now, keep this. More sun symbols played, we go towards warmer climate, more snowflakes towards colder climate. Now we follow with the third phase where we play cards. Starting with the first player, she can now discard cards from her hands to do the following things. Discard a card to bring a new species board, body size and population level 1. You can discard 1 card from your hand to increase one of your species' body size or population by 1, like so. Now let's make some things clear. You can never go higher than any body size limit or population on the species board, so I can never surpass this here. Also, there is no limit on how many species you can have, but when you add the species in your collection, keep in mind that you have to place them either left or right from your collection. You cannot put them in between. You can play a card face down as a trait on a species. Here, the details you are interested will be the trait and the description itself. The snowflake or sun symbol and the number are useless when you adapt your species. And last but not least, at the end of your turn only, you could discard as many cards as you want to replace them and draw new ones. If you're a lot of people, you could do those play cards phase all together. That way you don't have to wait for everyone to finish their turn and the game will be faster. I actually play it like this because I like a faster gameplay. Notice though that this may give the chance for a selected number of players to cheat, so try to be fair, but also be aware. Those evolution trait cards are also color-coded, so you have gray for defensive traits, green for eating traits, red for carnivore traits, blue for climate traits, and yellow for any other traits. Now, after everyone is done and ready, we reveal all of the face-down traits. Each species can have maximum 4 traits. If you have 4 though, you can add another one, but you must discard one. Also, you can never have the same card trait in one species. And you will see that some cards cannot work together, but I will show you some examples in a while. Now we go to the 4th phase, modify the environment. First, resolve any cards which trigger before food cards. How do we know which cards are those? Look here. Long neck and fertile, for example, have this symbol on the top left corner. This means that they belong in this card group and they are activated and resolved before the food cards. Only then you can reveal the food cards played in the watering hole, and now we first have to decide where the climate marker will move, if at all, due to the majority of snowflakes or sun symbols. Here it will be moved towards a warmer climate because there were more suns played. If the climate marker ends in a region with an event card, we must resolve that event card right now. Otherwise, we incur population loss due to climate. Let's say the climate marker reached the tropical area. Notice here there is 1 sun and 5 to 6 numbers. This means that all species body size 5 to 6 must suffer 1 population loss because there is 1 sun. Now we must add or remove plant food 2 from the watering hole based both on the food cards and the climate track. For example, the climate marker reached the tropical region where there is a 12 for plant food. So we will add to that 12 plus 0, plus 3, plus 7 and minus 1. That equals 21. So we will add 21 plants from the food bank to the watering hole. Sometimes you may have to remove food or not add any, because you see there are also minus numbers. Remember that if there was an event card, you may have to ignore this step because you play the event card instead, and then you discard it and draw a new one from the corresponding pile. On the top of these cards there is always written where you have to place them if you draw them. Look here, for example, if there is a meteorite, you don't add food to the watering hole. And for the rest of the game. Super crazy card, super interesting game. Great, and now we are ready to feed our species. During the feeding phase we play one by one. Starting with the first player, she must feed one of your hungry species. You can choose which species you want to feed first. If your species are hungry, you must try to feed them, otherwise they will suffer the consequences. When are they hungry? Whenever you have a free space next to its population, like here, this species has 2 populations being hungry. So if you decide to feed a herbivore, you take 1 plant food from the watering hole, plus any bonuses you may have from evolutionary traits. If your species is a carnivore though, and it is hungry, you must attack 1 other species following some rules. First of all species start generally anyways by default by being herbivores. If you want to turn a species into a carnivore, you have to add 1 carnivore card to that species as a trait in the play card phase. Rule of thumb when attacking: body size. You can only attack smaller species than your carnivore, like here, I could attack this one. On top of that, you must always have the counteracting traits. For example, there are defensive traits that sometimes add body size or add mechanics that you must overcome to attack. In that example, this species is protected by Warning Call from its neighbor, so my carnivore cannot attack it. But if I had Ambush on my carnivore, this card allows me to ignore Warning Call specifically and attack this species. If you cannot attack any species from your opponents, I'm sadly to tell you, you must attack one of your own species. You can never choose, most of the times, to be hungry. Carnivores always take meat equal to the body size of the attacked species that they are hunting. If you get extra than you can collect, you just do not add them to your species board. Carnivores also may have herbivore traits from previous turns, but remember they can never get plant tokens. On the other hand, herbivores could collect meat food if they have special traits like scavenger or through cooperation that you will discover through the game. You will repeat this feeding phase multiple times. If you're hungry, you must eat. So each player takes turns one by one, and every time you must feed one population from one of your species, whichever you want and can. The feeding phase ends when all species are unable to eat, or when those species that have a choice because of some traits, for example like fat tissue, choose not to eat, or if there is no more food left. A species can generally not eat more than its population. Few exceptions like fat tissue card allows you to do so. When feeding phase is done, any hungry populations are lost, like here those two populations were left hungry. So, begun. If one species loses its last population, it goes extinct and goes back in the box. Then, you close the gap between any species remaining like so. If a species goes extinct and you had food on its board, you still collect that food in your purse. Also, let's say that this species had 3 traits. You will discard them along with the species board and then draw immediately 3 new ones for your hands. You always draw as many traits as you discarded. Okay, so feeding phase is over, and this means that now you collect all food from the species boards to your pairs, and you pass on the dinosaur first player indicator to the next player. Then you start again with the 5 phases. The game ends when the last card from the evolution trait card pile is drawn. If this happens and there are no more cards, just draw the necessary amount of cards from the discarded pile, and this will be the last round of all complete 5 phases of the game. Then you count your overall points. Each surviving species is worth equal to its population. 1 point for each trait on the species, and 1 for each food collected in your purse. In case of a tie, the player with the most trait card points wins. And if still there is a tie, the player with the most population points wins. If there is still a tie, the player who is a biologist wins. If you have no biologists in your groups, too bad, find one and play again. You will see that the rulebook has some kind of a reference section for the trait cards, but also for the climate event cards, where you can see more details if you have further questions. I think it's very normal. The first time you play, you will feel a little bit lost because you're not aware of the cards, like what cards are there, what kind of combinations, nice combos you can do. But it's really fun to discover this while playing. And if you have more questions, you will see that the rulebook is actually a very well designed. It makes it easy, but without losing the proper information. You will see that there are a lot of additional information you may need, and everything is really nice and well written. So go ahead and try it. There are also some cool variations, and you can adjust those little rules. For example, you can avoid the climate event cards if this is your first time that you play, or if you have a new player in your company, you can just play without those cards. I actually really like them because apart from the fact they have a really cool design, they also add the parameter where you can interact more with each other, and it's part of your strategy. Based basically on how you want to manipulate and influence the weather, and this is a very nice elaborating strategy that will influence your game, and I think that's actually a really cool thing. But if you're new, maybe you can just avoid those cards and have a smooth, easier first round.
You can of course play the quick play version, which is what I told you, that you can do the play cards all together, so you don't have to wait each other. If you are less than 5 to 6 players, you can remove cards. For example, if you are 4 players, you remove 30 cards from the pile, or if you play just with 2 players, you can remove half of the cards, and that way the game is faster. You can see here, you can adjust the body size population boards. Basically upside down, it's exactly the same thing, but if you have a smaller table, you may need a little bit of you need more space, you can just adjust this. I really like those things because the designers have, you can see they have put a lot of effort and a lot of thought and ideas on how to make the game easier, smoother.
And that is it, guys. Now you also know how to play. The rules are not complicated nor much. You just have to give it a bit of a try, play it a couple of times to get a rhythm, find the different combinations of cards you could do, what kind of cards exist. It's really not so many rules, and it's a very wonderful design. I really adore this game. And if you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments below, and I would really like to hear your opinion about this amazing, beautiful game. Thanks a lot for watching, see you next time, ciao!